Welcome to History Nuts. I'm Russ Carson Jr., the founder of Family Tree Nuts. At Family Tree Nuts, we build family trees for people, and we produce videos at historic locations and videos that help to honor your ancestors.
I'm Jameson Cable, founder of the Kentucky History Podcast, where we talk about anything Kentucky history, events, people. If it has to do with Kentucky, we're going to discuss it.
And we've teamed up together to bring you History Nuts.
History Nuts is a live show where we talk about, you guessed it, history.
Right. History seems to be less and less to people today, but we are trying to do everything we can to keep it alive.
Absolutely. History is a passion of ours for sure, but it connects to you. Russ, tell us about the best part of the show.
You can join in. You can comment and ask questions live.
We've got a great topic today, and we know you're going to enjoy this episode of
History Nuts. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Russ from Family Tree Nuts, and who else we got tonight?
Hey, Jameson from The Land Between the Meadows, Kentucky History Podcast.
Awesome. And our subject tonight, if you tune in to check this out tonight, I'm willing to bet that most people don't know who he is.
I would bet a lot that no one knows who he is. But Benjamin Logan, do you know who Benjamin Logan is, Russ?
Yes, I know who Benjamin Logan is, but I'm willing to bet that most of our folks out there don't. But just asking some people lately, the last few days, if they knew who he was, and they don't know who he is.
No, and Benjamin Logan was, one of the founders of Kentucky. In my opinion, I would think too, historically, he was by far one of the big players in Kentucky, if you want to say that, and even on into the government aspect of Kentucky. He was a big, had a big hand in all of it. So
at least top five.
At least I would say
at least top five, if not top three of people, and maybe even arguably top two. Him and Isaac Shelby maybe would be the two biggest, even bigger than Boone.
Yeah, I would say that's a very good. I would think he was more important as far as Kentucky becoming a state than Boone. Boone was he was running around surveying, hunting and fishing, naked and all that stuff. So,
literally,
Logan, Benjamin Logan, Isaac Shelby, some of those other people, they had an actual hand in settling, creating a government, and so forth. So, I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and as far as Benjamin Logan goes, being around this area in Rock Castle and Lincoln County, me and my brothers, my mom, she's very into history as well. And we went to Fort Boonesboro, we went to Fort Harrod, and we had field trips, of course, to Fort Boonesboro. And my younger brother, his name was Logan, and we knew about Fort Logan, but there was never a Fort Logan to go to. And it was kind of like this mysterious thing. We went to this fort, we went to that fort, but we wanted to go to Fort Logan. If you've been to any of the other forts, you especially as a child, being young, they were so cool and so much interesting. But that's just kind of my personal connection. I've always been interested in Benjamin Logan, and as I've gotten older, of course, I've been able to research and find out more about him. But where did his parents come from, Russ?
From Ulster. He was a Scots-Irishman there. So most of my genealogy is Scots-Irish, but so he was. A lot of people. Told myself I wouldn't go on this tangent, but that's who basically settled the first frontier, into on the other side of the mountains. But so he was a Scots-Irishman, grew up basically in the backcountry of Virginia, in modern day Rockbridge County, which I've been to, and it's a beautiful place. But that was way in the boonies during the time when he was born. It's in the boonies now. If you've ever been to Rockbridge County. I think it was Augusta County at the time, but it eventually became Rockbridge, his section of that.
Yeah. And to think as far as that goes, so, Benjamin Logan comes over. He has a few trips over. I'm not for sure if he came with Boone or not, but I know he came with John Floyd, and that's the big one that kind of, I guess, is the most important one. He came over on a hunting trip, a surveying trip, however you want to for him, and they were on their way to Boonesboro, but then they cut off to settle where they are, or settle where Stanford is now, if you are familiar with Stanford, Kentucky. But he got to Stanford, and it's funny, the name St. Asaph. I don't know, are you familiar with this story of St. Asaph?
Yeah, ASAP or whatever. It's the patron saint of Wales.
Yeah. So they got there, and old Floyd, I guess he wanted to name it St. Asaph because of and so they named it St. Asaph, but they built a fort. And when we talk about Kentucky, or when we talk about forts in general, I'll ask you a question here, Russ. What would make you, geographically looking around in the land, what would make you build a fort? What would you be looking for?
Well, you first of all, you need to have a good water source.
Water, yeah, good.
Easily defensible, preferably on higher ground.
Yeah, got to get the high ground. Star Wars reference, if anybody knows.
Right. Yeah, and probably plenty of lumber and trees around in order to build defenses.
Yeah. And I mean, Kentucky at the time, of course, had loads of that. There was plenty of forest around. And if you're familiar, I mean, Stanford is kind of on a, it's a higher area, so it would make sense. There's the Dix River and a few other streams and stuff that come through. There's also a spring that was there. It's not there anymore, sadly, but a spring of water. So you have all these factors coming in, and it's very, it's very good. It's a very good location to start a fort. But forts, I mean, how many forts do you think there were around in Kentucky, or just in general? I mean,
I think there was 38 stations in the bluegrass region there originally. So which Fort Logan being one of the major ones.
And you got Boonesboro and you got Harrod, which are probably the biggest two. But I think Landon Copley, he's starting him a big podcast soon about Kentucky, Commonwealth stories from Kentucky. He's going to be starting up soon, and there may be a guest on that one too that you might know, but he's watching. So hey man,
what's the name of that?
Commonwealth.
Okay, another podcast coming out.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
good deal.
Anyway, Logan,
I have a hard time keeping up with yours.
Yeah. Anyway, the fort. You've been to Boonesboro, I know, and you've been to Fort Harrod, right?
I was there yesterday.
Oh, cool.
I was at Fort Boonesboro yesterday, actually. Yeah.
Those are pretty large places when you think about it. Pretty large forts, I guess. But Fort Logan was small. It was a lot smaller. I mean, maybe half the size. It had four rooms on each corner, an east gate and a west gate, and that's about it. But
and those gates weren't your normal gates either for that particular fort, were they? They weren't the open up gates. They were the awning hinge gate, weren't they? Yeah,
and but anyway, about old Benjamin, he was a fighter. I mean, really, he was a general. He fought many battles. We were talking earlier about all the Native American skirmishes he had. I mean, what'd you say, 25 years he probably was battling?
Approximately 25 years he was fighting the Shawnee, starting from 1764, in the Virginia militia against the Shawnee in their siege of Fort Pitt. So he was with Henry Boquet, Henri Boquet, the Swiss. He's a Swiss mercenary, worked for the British and the Dutch and other things like that. But going on a tangent again, too much history, kind of thing. But got to stay focused on Benjamin. Yeah. Young, I think he was 22 years old, fought in the militia, and coming into Kentucky. What an exciting life, man! Those guys lived some real freedom.
Oh yeah, I mean, and just you're talking about hardships, man. I mean, hardship. And there's a book, and I mentioned this last week about Benjamin Logan, but it's in the Kentucky room at the Stanford Library. But you can't leave, you can't take it out. You have to read it while you're there. And so I don't know much about his childhood, I'm sure the book probably has a bit more of that, but I just don't know a lot about it. But he came over here with his kids. I think he had 2 kids, maybe 3, when they came over. They also, sadly, he did have, I think, 2 slaves, or I think he had a slave, and then his slave had 2 children. So that's a slight on it, I guess, on him. But he came over here. He planted his corn. A year later, he came back and he began constructing a fort, a cabin, all that stuff. I think he had to plant so much corn, and you got 4,000 acres, I think, something like that. And then when you came back, you got another 1,000, or all that stuff. Right. But he had a lot of land. He got there and had a lot of land.
He was a lieutenant too. He was a lieutenant in Lord Dunmore's war in 1774. Yes. Before that, so he would have got some kind of a land grant probably for his service to there. And many say that's the first battle of the Revolutionary War. He's fighting the Shawnee again.
Yeah. So,
Pleasant, West Virginia.
Jordan here has a picture here. I found this picture, and this is just another of Logan. Saving I forgot who the guy's name was. I'm gonna have to Harrison, maybe. Let me think here. I'm gonna have to look it up. But anyway, it's a picture drawn of him outside the fort saving Harrison for being scalped. It's a pretty good little picture. It's Library of Congress is where I got it at. But again, I don't know. You want to tell some story? I got some stories on them living in the fort, and just so many struggles.
Well, they had the siege there at that fort.
Yes.
The Shawnee were attacking them, and how I forget how long that siege went, but they weren't successful. The Indians were not successful, and that's why they called it the Standing Fort, which turns into Stanford.
Yep.
So
it was 13 days, and I think there was only like 11 people in the fort during the siege. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 11. The thing is, there's so many times that they were attacked that you can get kind of, I guess, muddled in the numbers, because, like we said, the fort was very small, and at most it probably held 30 people at the most. You talk about 4 families in the cabins, and you got some other spots for other I guess fighting men, if you want to call them that.
Didn't they go out to milk the cows in the middle of the siege?
Yes. So
what the heck, man?
That's crazy. So they're in the middle of the siege, and I guess somebody says, "You know what? I really need some milk," and they say, "Well, let's roll on over and let's go get some milk, man." And say, "Hey, John, go get you some milk." Sally, go get some milk. And there's like 6 or 7 of them go out to get some milk in the middle of the night. Like, it wasn't like it was daytime. And of course, the Native Americans roll in, kill them, and then the next day they're like, "Oh my gosh, what happened to them?" And another thing, they scalped them all except for one person. You know why they didn't scalp that one person?
Well, did they send them back in there? Did they keep them live? No, I didn't know.
They shot one of the cows, and the cows fell on them, so they couldn't get to the head to scalp it. So
wow,
there you go. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I think they had the trial for Daniel Boone there too.
Yeah. So whenever Daniel Boone, he got captured and came back, and
did he get captured or did he run off?
It's true. That's a good question. Did he come back to save them, or was he just tired of being a Native American running around?
Right.
I don't go. I guess the courts found him innocent, right? Or did they? Right. Or did he? They found him innocent, right? He didn't.
They found him innocent, but for the rest of his life, a lot of people thought that he wasn't. So he was a traitor. But I think didn't Benjamin Logan sit on? They had a committee there. They brought him because at the time they thought of Fort Logan as the kind of the capital
It was, yeah.
More than Harrodsburg or Fort Harrod or Fort Boonesboro.
Well,
there, and then
well, when they first, I think we had Jefferson County, Fayette County, and Lincoln County were the first counties settled. And at the very beginning, Fort Harrod was the county seat, but Logan went to he said, "Hey, I want us to move it to Fort Logan." And you know what some of the stipulations for them to move it? He had to build a jail, 2, build a courthouse, 3, build a tavern. They had to have a tavern.
Right.
And so he said, sure, we'll do that. And then they ended up moving it to the county seat, to St. Asaph or Fort Logan or Stanford, however you want to refer to it. It's pretty crazy, pretty interesting little stories.
Right.
But anyway, he go ahead.
During the Revolutionary War, he was the second highest ranking in the militia, kind of thing. So, and during the Western, I guess you would call it the Western theater of the Revolutionary War, I can't remember the officer that got captured by the American troops, but as they were transporting him back to the East Coast, he stayed at Fort Logan with Logan and his wife and his kids. He had a lot of kids, like 10, I think. But he complimented the fort, I guess, to an extent. He said the people were kind of rough, but the fort was well standing, I guess. But I guess you could imagine how backwoods they would have been and how unrefined those men would have been.
Yeah. You get this high-ranking British officer, and he's going to be like, "Oh, these people, he might be a little snobby."
They might have been living on the frontier for a couple generations. Usually those people that came in, So he was he was one of the leaders there at Blue Licks too. In 1782 for the final battle of the Revolutionary War. So he was there for that defeat, and then before that he actually got into politics. He was represented Kentucky in the Virginia House of Representatives.
Yeah. So he gets into politics, and that kind of, obviously he was getting older, so he started getting into politics. He couldn't fight as hard as I guess he used to as when he was younger, and of course the frontier as far as Kentucky was starting to get settled too. So he was had a big hand on the Kentucky conventions for statehood. He was already a politician in Virginia, and rightfully so. He was one of the first people here as far as an actual settlement. The only other person that I would say that would rival him politically would be Isaac Shelby at the time, and that kind of leads up to the governor's race in 1792 when Kentucky was first formed. It was Isaac Shelby versus Benjamin Logan, and my kind of theory is that if Benjamin Logan would have won, you would know a lot more about him, even though people probably don't know much, if much at all, about Isaac Shelby. Benjamin Logan was the other person to consider. But I'll say this too, I contribute that to a few things. I think Isaac Shelby came from Virginia as well, but he came from more of a I can't say the word.
Aristocracy, yeah.
Gentry. More of a wealthier family. You also had William Whitley, who was right down the road. Aristocratic. That's the word. Thank you, Jordan. Who was the other one? Oh, William Whitley. William Whitley also was a bit more. He was a bit more, fancy man. Wanted to have the parties, that sort of stuff, entertain people. But I don't think Benjamin Logan was really that much of a. No. He was not that. He was more. He's a backwoodsman, man. He's a frontiersman.
Think more Davy Crockett, more Davy Crockett in later years.
Yeah. So I don't know. This is me just speculating, but I kind of think there'd be a bigger shift. You would just know more about Benjamin Logan if he would have become governor, because a little bit later he ends up dying, like in 1802, I think, 1801. Kind of suddenly. He didn't really you know, he didn't really. I think he had a stroke, and ended up dying from that. So you know, I mean, pretty historic life, very important person to Kentucky for sure.
He ran for governor twice.
Yeah,
we forgot to mention that after the Revolutionary War, he was still fighting the daggone Shawnee while he was a delegate. He wanted a couple raids into Ohio with George Rogers Clark, and raiding the Shawnee there, and also into Indiana and Wabash River area. And he was a secondary diversion. You know, George Rogers Clark was going, you know, in one raid, and he was leading another party into that raid there. And there's some stains in that raid, isn't there? You remember they were most of the warriors went to basically head off at George Rogers Clark. So Logan's group was into the you know, basically going to abandoned villages. Women and children and stuff were there, old men and things, but they laid waste to crops and supplies and such, and captured a chief that waved an American flag and it held a treaty, you know, kind of thing. And it's Maluntha, I think his name was, Chief Maluntha. And while he was in their custody, one of the colonels asked him if he'd been at Blue Licks, and I guess he misunderstood him and said yes he was, so he smashed him with a hatchet and killed him. So, which basically reignited the whole thing over again. And I mean, I'm going on tangents here, but I can tell you 6 or 8 different times where this thing cooled down with the Shawnee and flamed back up again, you know. So for an action like that on both sides, of course. So
of course,
so it's a little bit of a stain, and probably cost lots more lives later on.
Logan County of Kentucky, of course, is named after Benjamin Logan, and they got. I think I drove through there once, and it has been a long time.
Through Logan County?
Yeah, in Logan County. It's a bit farther west, west of Bowling Green, but I think they have a statue of Benjamin Logan, I think. But
it's not a whole lot in Logan County.
There's not, no.
So then that's one reason why people probably don't know him as much, you know, is because things like that.
Yeah.
And there's Logan County, Ohio, named after him too. He's even got a high school named after him.
Yes,
Logan High School. So
that's real. Come on, Kentucky.
In Ohio. That's right.
The deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely a big hero that no one's ever heard about.
So anyway, I do got a plug to make. There's if Jordan could show the not Boonesboro, I keep saying Boonesboro, but Fort Logan Foundation. They have a Facebook page, so you can go to the Facebook page, check it out. It's, you know, they're trying to rebuild the fort, and if Jordan can show a few of the pictures of the rebuilt fort. Or, you know, they're in the process of building it, which is a really good effort. I really hope that they're able to complete it, make it a state park. It would be great for Stanford, and it would be great just historically to have that there. And I think when time is right, me and you will be able to do an on-site video there. It's a real cool. I mean, it's real cool what they've got done so far. They got like a front wall. They got the corner cabins, I guess you'd call them that, but they still need, you know, they do a lot of fundraising and stuff to try to build it up. It's located on a really good place there in Stanford. It's not on the actual location, but the actual location, the landowner didn't want to give it up for them to build the fort there. So it's a little bit off, but I mean, only like maybe by 100 yards or 200 yards. It's not far from the original site. But anyway, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You can drive out there right now and look at it. But they have reenactments there too. Go to their Facebook page, check it out, you know, and help if you can. You know, or if not, just like their page. There's that.
I saw that fort on Animal Planet.
Huh? Really?
Yeah. Turtle Man was there. You got some snakes
Turtle
out of
Man.
That fort, you know, remember Call the Wild Man, you know?
Oh,
you
yeah.
did an episode there about 5 years ago or so.
Yeah.
That's definitely a place that people don't know that's there. It's another fort to be able to go visit and such there. Something that I when I think about these guys, it's really interesting about what's a common thread of all these early leaders, and not just Kentucky, but our nation in general. Is many of these guys are some serious tough guys. They were warriors, first kind of thing, and that's definitely something that's different than in politics now. So, I mean, these are our ancestors. We picked our leaders by who was the best warrior amongst us, and now that's not at all how things go. So,
no. And mentioning that, I believe that would probably be the swaying vote for Isaac Shelby, is because he was more of a military minded, I guess, as opposed to Logan was more of a frontiersman, man, I guess, if you want to say if that's a just comparison. But that's what kind of won it up, because Isaac Shelby, which is another story, became governor again in 1812, and he was reelected again because of the brewing war of 1812, and they were like, the people of Kentucky said, we need a military-minded person, and so they put him in there. But that's another story. Isaac Shelby's another story, and there's more about Benjamin Logan, but
I know I could go on for a long time about him. It's a very admirable person. That
do what? Oh, yeah. Okay, awesome. So there's a link for the foundation in the comments, so you can check that out. Also, before we move on too much farther, we're doing a contest, giving away another copy of The Frontiersman. So if you've stuck around with us, hopefully, you can go to @KY_History_Pod, which is the Land Between the Meadows Facebook page, and I have a post there. It's pinned to the top about the giveaway. All you have to do is like, share the post, and you'll be entered in to win a free copy of The Frontiersman, which talks about Benjamin Logan quite often in it. So it's a very, very good book.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a very valuable thing for sure. And there's that whole series of books is there. So I always joke that's the book that took all my time away, because in 7th grade history class, the teacher read segments from that. So, but so
that's.
Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything like that they would like to add? It's one thing we didn't mention that in the beginning.
Yeah, no.
To do that, I don't see.
But yeah, the YouTube channel got up to 100 subscribers, so we gonna give something away. But Benjamin Logan. Very, very, very important. I guess around here in Lincoln County, Rockcastle County, and you could say even Madison County too. Pretty important fella. Pretty important fella.
That's one of the things too. Is and I'll say this and shut up, but it's how connected that everybody is. Oh, one thing we forgot to mention is his sister-in-law was his wife's sister was married to Colonel William Casey, the leader of the Green River area and settler, and Casey County's named after him, and that's another show right there. But his in-laws.
Yeah, and he has a daughter that's was married to, I can't think if it was Davies. He's got a daughter that was married to a man who a county in Kentucky is named after. His son ran for governor as well. Himself and his lineage is mixed into Kentucky politics, and just the founding of Kentucky. I mean, not just politics, just the founding of Kentucky. So.
And I don't know this, but last week I met a gentleman that was actually a first cousin, several times removed, meaning that his 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th great grandfather was a brother to Benjamin Logan, and from what he was telling me is that there's not really any descendants left over from Benjamin, kind of thing. That line's kind of died out.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
It's funny how that happens. Yeah, it's kind of like the Clays too, like Cassius Clay here. You know, his line is died out as far as because no more named Clays. You know, they had girls and females. Yeah. The names kind of died out. So interesting how that works, kind of thing. Very interesting. So all right. I guess we check out of here right now. I don't see any comments there, but and thanks for meeting with us again, Jameson, and we'll be back next week. You already said it. Sorry about that. I forgot. I remember you wanted to say something at the end. You brought that up already there. So for that, but check that out. And you got anything else, Jameson?
That's it, man. Like and share the post, and we'll give away the Frontiersman next week.
All right, I want to win that myself. I can use another copy. So, all right. So, Jordan, I guess we'll sign off, buddy. And are you there, Jordan? Yeah, buddy. I was just waiting for you to make sure you're there. But, well, guys, we'll catch you next week at 9 o'clock on Wednesday. Jameson, make sure you check out Jameson's podcast, too, because I can't tell you how many times that I've listened to him over again and things. And I don't know if this other gentleman's listening here may have to listen to his too, but have to check it out. But anyway, hey guys, remember, Family Tree Nuts. Let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.
Welcome to Family Tree Nuts. This video is to tell you who we are and what we do. I'm Russ Carson Jr., the genealogist and the founder of Family Tree Nuts. And for years, I kept hearing people say, I'd love to know about my ancestors, but I don't know how. I don't have the time, and I don't want to pay for those expensive membership fees. So in 2017, I founded Family Tree Nuts. Family Tree Nuts is a full-service history and genealogy service with nuts, some people would call them teammates, all over the country. First and foremost, our primary mission is to build family trees for clients. We do the research and build simple or detailed family trees and provide our clients with professionally written reports that are keepsakes forever. We have many different levels of our service plans to meet most needs or budgets. Our plans are listed on our website, and we can provide you with many, many different examples and testimonials. We also produce historic videos, and we make 3 different types of these videos. First, we make videos about historical people or places. Many of these are produced for historical and tourism organizations. Second, ancestor stories, which are with a client at a relevant location of an ancestor sharing their story. And third, life interviews, with elder family members documenting their lives. We make many of these videos on Facebook Live, so be on the lookout for those as well. Thanks for checking us out, and make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let us know how we can help you with your history and genealogy needs. You can contact us at info@familytreenuts.org. And remember, Family Tree Nuts, let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.